Okay, guys, are you ready to rock? Are you ready to roll? Get ready to rock and roll as we do more stats and probs. Are you with me? Great. Okay, so far so good. You already learned the basic concepts of the sampling normal distribution and the central limit theorem. So now you've already known the mechanics. But now this might be a bit of a plot twist already because now, as you can see, the twist will already become so hard and there might be challenges already. So pay close attention as we go along. Like for now, let's go to item number 8 or item number 7. So here's something very easy. In a minigame called Serve Sway Up, most of the people get an average score of 560 points with a standard deviation of 80 points. Yaha! I love Serve Sway Up. That's really my favorite game in Mario Party 8. I love this game so much because I get to fly into outer space and collect all of the points so that I can win first place. Yaha! Yeah, that's right, Mario. Because I know that's my favorite game. And if you haven't watched my video pala on playing that mini game sa Mario Party 8, you better check it out. Kasi nga palagi na lang talaga yun yung trend ko eh. Every time when I play Mario Party 8 pala, there's a mini game, di ba? Yung ano yun, Serve Sway Up. Such that kailangan dapat mag-collecta yung mga numbers para sa mga puntos mo. Pero unless lang talaga, tapakan mo, if you step on the Kurakot symbol, which is Bowser or Duterte, yung nga, madeduct ka ng mga puntos hanggang 0. Kaya that's what I want to avoid. But I know the average is 560. I think that's not really the average. Kasi mo baka mali mo, there might be some people who are way lower, and I think they might get mga 300 or 320. So that's the average na lang, not 560. Kasi nga, that is only for experts. Because if you're an expert, the average is 560. Pero if referring to a normal distribution, I know talaga the most likely average is like mga 300 to 400. So 560 is kinda high. Pero never mind, I just want to use this na lang para what you call this. This will represent my stats. Yeah! And we'll see if you guys can beat me. Huwag ka na maging mayabang, okay? Yeah. So now, with a standard deviation of 80 points. So yan, di ba remember that is exactly the situation. In a minigame called Serve Sway Up, most of the people get an average score of, siguro if I make it 300 points na lang, pwede naman yun. Siguro pwede, I'll make it 300 with 560 points. With a standard deviation of 80 points, okay? So let's start with letter A. I scored 800 points in that game, representing a z-score of 3 in a normal distribution. However, my z-score will be 30 if I ask blank people to challenge me. Okay, ganito kasi yun. So if we were to draw the normal curve, di ba remember you know already the normal curve, di ba? The normal distribution. The normal distribution will always look like this. Gaya ng sabi ko sa'yo, ang normal distribution ay ganito, di ba? So yung normal distribution ay ganito siya. So remember we have a normal curve that looks like this, di ba? We have 0, 1, 2, and 3. Then, di ba remember what's the raw score? It says here the standard deviation of 80 points. So 560, and then this becomes 560 plus 80, that is 640. And then after that, that becomes, ano to? 720 and then 800. Tama? Then on the left side, tama. That is, what's the number here? 480. Then, 400. 320. Yan. Di ba? So that is exactly how the normal distribution goes, okay? Pero, that is not exactly what the score I'm looking for. Kasi nga, that is not so, that is not really correct, okay? And then it's very hard talaga to get 800 points in the, in the Serve Sway Up. Unless lang talaga, di ba remember sa Test for the Best? Yeah! I remember that time when I played Test for the Best. I always score 800 points. That's why, yeah! I'm the winner. Yup, that's right. I'm always the winner that time, right? Pero next time na lang yun, okay? Pero sabi ko dito, if I scored 800 points, that represents a z-score of 3 in the normal distribution. So, ibig sabihin, tatlo talaga yung puntos, yung z-score ko kapag maglaro ka ng Serve Sway Up. Okay? Pero sabi ko dito, however, my z-score will be 30 if I ask blank number of people to challenge me. O yan, so what is the solution here? Ibig sabihin, let's identify the given. Diba, remember sabi ko dito, it is like this. The mean is 560 points, diba? So let's identify the given. First, what is x? X is, kasi nga sabi ko dito, if I ask 30 people to, if I ask, will be 30. Diba, remember sabi ko dito, I scored 800 points in a game. Ah, yes, 800 is the raw score. So x stands for 800 points. Then the mu, that is 560 points, diba? And then the standard deviation, gets ko na. Remember, the sigma is 80. Kasi what that pertains to a normal distribution. So, diba, remember, you know the formula kapag normal distribution, x minus mu divided by standard deviation equals z. And diba, remember, we were supposed to get a positive 3 for the for the z-score. Tama? So, now let's try again. So, diba, remember, 800 minus 560, diba, remember, that is the answer, diba? So, from 8 to 5, that's 2, diba? We skip 2 digits. Then, last digit na lang, 240. Tama? So, 240. And then, 240 divided by the standard deviation of 80, this becomes 3. So, tama, that is the z-score that I was looking for, 3, diba? Just what I said in the normal distribution, as you can see here. Pero, sabi ko dito, my z-score will be 30 if I ask how many people to challenge me. Yan, and that's when we have the sample of n. So, the n is what we're looking for. So, we do not know what n is. Pero, diba, remember, I told you before, there's a formula on how we can solve for the normal distribution even though we have the, the n, diba? So, what is the formula? It goes like this. Na ba talaga, z is still the same. X minus mu divided by standard deviation. Pero, where are we going to put the n? Sa baba ng standard deviation such that it's a smaller division bar. Kaya nga that one, we need to simplify that first. Diba? So, x minus mu and then standard deviation divided by the square root of n. Then from there, we divide them both so that we can get the value of z. Okay? Now, we input what we have. So, now we have this answer. Remember what's the value of z? 30, diba? Positive 30. So, positive 30 is equivalent to 800 minus 560 divided by the 80, the standard deviation all over the square root of n. Tama? So, therefore, that is our equation. Pero, ganito kasi yun. Look, it's a complex fraction, especially that we have another rational denominator on the bottom. So, what we do about this? Ganito kasi yun. First, let's simplify the numbers first. Diba, remember, yung 800 minus 560, that becomes 240. So, therefore, our equation will become 30 is equivalent to 240, diba? 240, and then 80 divided by square root of n, diba? That is the one. Pero, malabo pa rin dahil, look at this. 80 divided by the square root of n, we have to bring it upstairs. Kasi ito ba, remember, yung square root of n, it is so down to the bottom. And it's to the base. So, we need to bring that upwards to make it much more easier. So, how do we do that? We need to multiply both sides by 80 times the square root of n. So, doing that, we multiply it on both sides. Here, on the top, 80 divided by square root of n, they cancel here. So, leaving the right side with 240 lamang. On the left-hand side, we have 80 divided by the square root of n. So, now we multiply the left side. So, 80 times 30 is, what's 80 times 30? 8 times 3 is 24. Then, 2 zeros, that is 2,400 divided by square root of n. And on the right-hand side, we still have 240 itself. Tama? Now, look at this. Did you know we can apply ratio and proportion? How do we do that? Cross-multiply. Because remember, look at the square root of n. The square root of n is still underneath. And how do we bring it back to the surface? Kasi nga nasa base siya, di ba? So, kung nasa base, paano tayo magdalhin sa surface? I-multiply namin by the square root of n. Diba, you remember what did I tell you if you have some complex fractions like that? Like, for example, diba, remember you have 5. And then you have 10 over 5 over x, diba? 20 and then 5 over x, diba? So, therefore, what do we do here? Diba, remember that is a complex fraction. So, the first thing we need to do is to multiply both sides by 5 over x. Then, the 5 over x will multiply here to the left side. And that's equivalent to 20. Then, After that, that will become 25, di ba? And then divide by x, di ba? Then you put it here on the right side, di ba? Multiply both sides by x so that the x here is cancel. And then you're now left with one-step equation. 25 over 20x, di ba? Then you divide both sides by 20. So therefore, 25 divided by 20 is the same as 5/4. So therefore, x is 5/4. So therefore, if you check back our equation, 5 is equivalent to 210 divided by 5 divided by 5/4. Of course, you have to simplify this first. Diba, remember this one needs to be simplified. So 5 divided by 5/4. 5 divided by 5/4 is the same as 5 over 1 times 4 over 5. They cancel, so we're just left with 4. And then we have 5 is equivalent to 20 divided by 4. 20 divided by 4 is 5. So 5 is 5. So it checks. Kaya nga, that's exactly how it will go when you have a variable in the denominator. You need to bring it to the surface. Even though that you have a complex fraction, you still need to apply the concept of fractions to help you understand this theorem. Okay? Then, it's very easy because all you have to do is to just apply the cross multiplication method. Alright? Now, back to the video. So, kagaya ng sabi ko sa'yo, di ba remember we have 2,400 divided by square root of n is equivalent to 240 over 1. So, now we apply cross multiplication. This times this times that. So, therefore, that becomes 2,400 is equivalent to 240 divided by the square root of n. Diba? Pero, we need to divide that first. Kasi nga, now we're back to one-step equation. Diba, remember, this one has to do first. If we are to do this in normal PEMDAS, square root comes first and then you multiply. So that we can get the answer. But, because we are now doing two-step equation, and then we want to solve for the value of n, we need to do multiplication first. So what we do first? Divide. So we need to divide by 240. Dividing those by 240, this one cancels, and 240 divided by 24 is equivalent to 10, di ba? Kasi nga diba remember, we cross out 1, 0, and divide by 24, 24 divided by 24 is 1, 240 divided by 24 is 10. So therefore, now we're just left with 10 all is equivalent to square root of n. Now, we are already left with the square root of n. Can we now solve for the value of n? Madali na yan. What is the undo of square root? Square. So, kailangan dapat i-square n. So, this one cancels, and then we square both sides. So, now, n is 100. So, that's our value of n. Now, let's double check with our equation to see if we're correct. So, let's double check. Do I remember x is 800 minus 560 divided by 80, all divided by the square root of 100. Simplifying the numbers, do I remember here, 800 minus 560, that is 240. Here on the bottom, we have 80 divided by square root of 100. The square root of 100 is simply 10. So, 80 divided by 10. Then, yung 80 divided by 10, we simplify that to 8. So, therefore, it's 240 divided by 8. And that becomes 30. So, tama. That is the right answer that we're looking for. So, yun ang z-score ko when we do the normal, the sampling distribution of 100. So, that is the answer. Kaya ang sagot ko dito, my z-score will be 30 if I score 100 points if I were to challenge 100 people. So, therefore, what is the value of n? N is 100. Kailangan dapat tama mo yan. Because remember, as you go farther into the problem, kapag mali silang lahat na yan ay mali. Kailangan dapat tama na yan, ha? So, now you know what square n is? N is 100. Okay? So, I ask 100 people to challenge me. And now, our normal distribution will look like something like this. So, ito na talaga yung normal distribution ko. So, this becomes 0, 1, 2, 3, 1, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. Then, our numbers will be, di ba remember, 8 divided by 10 is 8. Di ba? So, therefore, that is 560, 568, 576, 584. This is 552, 544, 536. Okay? Now, let's go down to the next item. Okay, so now that's letter A. So, I hope you get that right, okay? So, now let's go now to my distribution. So, as you can see in my solution sheet, ito kasi yung nangyari. Do be patient, okay? So here's the answer that I got. First, we write the equation just like that. So 30, that is the answer, is equivalent to 800 minus 560. Then, all divided by 80 divided by the square root of n. Diba? Kailangan naman naka-parenthesis siya because we have to group that. Diba? Then, multiply and simplify. So, you multiply both sides by 80 divided by the square root of n. And then, on the right side, we get 240. Diba? So, that's what I did here. Then, we divide by the known divisor. Diba? So, therefore, the 30 times 80, that becomes, 2,400. Then, 2,400 is equivalent to square root of n divide by square root of n is equivalent to 240. Now, we divide by the known divisor. So, therefore, tama yung ginawa ko. Gets ko na. Kasi ang ginawa ko dito, I did it like this. Kasi nga, remember, 30 times 80 divided by the square root of n, that's equivalent to 2,240, diba? So, therefore, I got 80 divided by square root of n, it's equivalent to 8. Gets ko na. Kasi nga, ang ginawa ko dito, divide ko by 30. So therefore, it will go like this. 30 times 80 divided by the square root of n. Yun nga, kasi yun ang ginawa ko dito. So what I did na lang, I divide both sides by 30 para hindi ako mahirapan. Divide by the known divisor. So I divide by 30. So therefore, that becomes 8. And then it's just 80 divided by square root of n is equivalent to 8. So tama, I still get the same answer. Then, after that, yun nga, bring the radical upstairs. So the square root of n goes upstairs, and now we have 8 times the square root of n is equivalent to 80. Then divide both sides by 8, and that becomes 10. Diba? And then square it, n equals 100. So to check, diba, remember, to check, I did it like this. I click standardize, and then 800, 560, 80 divided by square root of 100, and then we got 30. So that is the right answer. Now let's go to the first question. Be sure you get that right, okay? Kailangan tandaan mo, we need 100, okay? Next, letter B. Find the probability that the people scored at least 540 points but less than 580. Yan, madali lang yan. Diba, remember 540, where's the 540 points? The 540 points is right here, diba? In between negative 3 and negative 2. Dito natatagpuan ang 540. And then, 580, at least 540, but less than 580. So, dito siya. Teka, parang siyang symmetrical Parang siyang, if we were to solve for this, it's like this, diba? So, let's write this equation down. So, 580 minus 560 divided by 8. Diba, remember, this becomes 80 divided by square root of 100. Diba, that one is simplified to 10. And then that becomes 8. So, therefore, that becomes 20 divided by 8. And what's 20 divided by 8? That's the same as divide both sides by 4. And that becomes 5 halves. So 5 halves is the same as 2 and 1 half. So therefore, on the negative side, it's 2.5, diba? Tama, it's right here. 2.5, that is the z-score. Okay? And on the left-hand side, it's also the same thing din, diba? We get negative 20. So tama, it's negative 2.5 and positive 2.5. So now let's check with our, let's check with our z-table. So what is the, and diba remember what is it asking for? It's asking for this portion. Lahat yung naka-shade in violet, okay? It's asking for this. Diba? Yun talaga yung tinatanong. So therefore, it asks from that area to that area. So looking at your z-table, 2.5 is 49.38%. Pero diba remember, since it's symmetrical, yan, 49.38%. Pero since it's symmetrical, kailangan tayo mag-multiply that by 2. So therefore, 49.38 times 2, di ba? This becomes 16, 7, 18, 9. So therefore, that's 9876. So therefore, the answer is 98.76%. That is the answer. Now, let's check with my solution sheet in Microsoft Excel to see if we get the same answer. Eto kasi yun. Di ba? So, di ba remember from 0 to 540, di ba remember that's on the negative side? Di ba? So, therefore, I just type their normal distribution, 540, and then 60, that is the mean, and then 80 divided by the square root of 100 is your standard deviation, and then we type there, true. Wait lang po True, di ba? And then after that, yun nga, we got this answer. So the answer is 0.06%, di ba? On the left side. Kasi kung remember, that's 39.38%. Then over here, to 580, that's 1 minus that area. Then we subtract them together. So that you can get the answer, di ba? Kasi nga, this one includes also the 0.06%. So when we subtract that, we get this answer of 98.76%. Which is correct. So yan, di ba? Or what I can type there is normal standard distribution, 580. Gets ko na ito yung formula ko. 1 minus the normal distribution of this one, di ba? That is the one that I want of everything. And then times 2. Because that is the answer I was looking for, di ba? Gets ko na. Because we want to conjugate, diba? So this one is a subtraction point. This one, I just subtracted from 1. Kasi nga diba, remember, 540, 560 is this one, diba? We want the left side. And then times 2, diba? Because remember, that is the answer, diba? And then we subtracted from 1 kasi nga we want to get rid of these ones. So we can get the remnant. So yan. So that's letter A, okay? Letter B, okay? Now let's go to letter C. If a person scored at the 68th percentile, what is his score? Ayan. Naalam mo talaga yung mga percentiles, di ba? Percentile means the rank. Di ba? So when we say the 68th percentile, it's right over at the right side. Di ba? Remember, we start on the negative side, then this is the 50th percentile. So yung 68th percentile ay nang dito. So therefore, what's 68 minus 50? Let's work it out. 18. So we need to find 18 in our Z table. What is the closest to 18? 1/8. Yes, the answer is 1772 and 1808. So therefore, that is the closest, di ba? So now you already know the formula. We have little x and little y. So our x, do you remember what is the z-score? The z-score is 0.46, diba? 0.46. This one is 0.47. Then our y values are, this is, what's the value of y? 0.46 corresponds to a z-score of 0.1772, diba? Here is 0.1808. Here is 0.18, diba? So yan. Now you apply the linear interpolation method as follows. So now you already know the formula. The formula for the linear interpolation is, we have 0.808 minus 0.1772. Then divide by, on the bottom we have 0.47 minus 0.46. Then on the right hand side, it is 0.18 minus this one, diba? Then divide by x minus 0.46. Diba? So now we simplify the numbers. So when we simplify the numbers, this area, this guy will become 108 minus 1772, 6. This becomes 3, 7, 0.036, diba? So this becomes 0.0036. Then this becomes 0.01. Diba? On the right hand side, we have this one that becomes, ano to? This is 0, 2, 8, diba? This becomes 9, 7. So, 0.028, diba? Then on the bottom side, we have x minus 0.46, diba? Then here on the bottom side, we are going to divide. Para hindi tayo mahirapan, we can use Microsoft Excel to help us solve for the answer. The reason why I just wrote this down, so that you will understand exactly what am I doing. Okay? So now to show you how the solution works, it will go something like this. So diba remember, what is our little y? Our little y is, here, I do it like this, diba? This is the numerator side. So the numerator is this one, diba? .10808 minus 0.1772. Then here, tama, we press enter and we got this answer. 0.03036, okay? So yan, and then here, we do 0.47 minus 0.46. And the answer is 0.01. Here, we're gonna divide the two numbers together. Diba? So here, divide by here. And then we get 0.03, 0.36. On the right-hand side, we have this answer. This is 0.18 minus 0.1772. Diba? And this becomes x minus 0.46. So therefore, we are now left with that equation. So now, when we write this down, it will look like this now. Your equation will go like this now. 0.36 is equivalent to 0.028. That's 0.00 pala. 2 zeros. Be careful with your decimal, Yan, so that's the answer. 0.0028 minus x minus 0.46. Now you're going to multiply them both. So therefore, this will become 0.36x. Then this will become 36 times negative 0.46. So therefore, on the right side, it will go like this. So therefore, it will become like this. This guy times 0.46. And then we get this answer, di ba? So therefore, it becomes time minus 1,656. And that's equivalent to 0.028. Now, we add both sides of this number, di ba? So when you do that, di ba, remember, this will become something like this, di ba? So this becomes 14, 8, 6, 1, di ba? And then we divide both sides by 0.36x, di ba? So now let's add. Di ba, remember, it will go like this. Kailangan tayo mag-add ng ito. So we add like this, plus, yan, di ba? Then last but not least, we divide by this number. Divided by this guy, 0.36. And then we get the z-score of, so the z-score is 0.4667778. So therefore, that is our z. Our z is 0.4677. That is the z-score. Now, we are going to convert that to a raw score. Because remember, we want to know exactly what is the score. So therefore, based on that z-score, ito yun. Di ba, remember, ito yung z-score namin. We multiply that by 80 divided by the square root of 100, di ba? Kailangan siya dapat naka-parenthesis, di ba? Yan, di ba? And then we add it with 560, which is the mean. And that's the answer, 563. If you look back here, remember the z-score is 0.46, di ba? 0.46 something, di ba? So it's right here. Malaman na siya sa 0.564. Remember, 564 is the 0.5 z-score. So yun talaga yung nangyari, okay? So let's go back now to our Excel. So going back now to my solution sheet, eto kasi yun. Ang ginawa ko dito, from probability to z, remember that the formula is, we convert that to z. So normal standard inverse, and then we type there 0.68. And therefore, that is the answer that we got. Tama! It's the same as 0.4677. That is the rounded version. But this is the accurate version. Then, we multiply that by 80 divided by the square root of 100, then add 560, and that's what we get. Ta-da! See? Still the same answer. 563.74. Here, we got, tama, it's still the same din. Kaya that's already the, the percentile. Pero, in search way up, in that mini game, we cannot have that number in the game. So, it should be approximately 560 to 570 points. That's it. Next, letter D. If the distribution is divided into 3, find the raw scores that lie in the distribution. Now, let me draw the distribution again to show you how it works. Okay, so now let's draw another normal curve. So, di ba, remember this is the distribution, di ba? So, therefore, this is 0, 1, 2, 3, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. And then, di ba, remember the scores? We got these scores, di ba? 560, 568, 576, 584. Then, this becomes 552, 548, and 540, di ba? No, 544 yun. Then, 536. Tama. Okay? Now, it says here, the distribution is divided into 3. So find the raw scores that lie in the distribution. So the distribution is divided into 3. Ganito yun. Diba? Remember, the first one is 33%. So the 33% is right on this side. Then the 66% is right on this side. Then the last one is divided into this side. But I think we cannot get the approximation value. So kailangan dapat we have to do this on Excel para hindi kayo mahirapan. Kasi nga if I were to do this in my normal stats and probs book, we might get an inaccurate answer. So kailangan dapat I have to do this in Microsoft Excel. So here's how I did it, okay? Eto kasi yun. So diba remember here, this is how I did it. First, I did the percent. Percent is right over here, diba? Percent, ibig sabihin yung percent, diba? So we're talking about the percent. The percent is 33.333%. Kasi diba remember, if you get that, that should be approximate to 100. So dapat that should be the probability. 33.33% or 0.333 and 0.33. If I were to do the linear interpolation method, of course, that'll still be hard to configure out where that goes. Kaya mas madali talaga if I were to do this lang Excel. Here on the middle, it's still the same. 0.333%. Then on the right side, yun nga. So therefore, to look like that. And then we need to look for the z-scores. So where are the z-scores? Eto na. Diba remember, ito yung mga z-scores na kailangan natin hanapin. So first, we did this. Ang ginawa ko, normal standard inverse of this guy, diba? This 33%. And the z-score that we got there is 0.43027 727,299. So that is the z-score on the left side. So therefore, it should be right over here. Dito natatagpuan siya. Sa negative 0.43, di ba? Dito talaga ang 33%. Then, on the second one, ito yung ginawa ko. I added them both so I get the 66%, di ba? 66 point, ano yun? 7%. And that should give me 0.43%. Parang siyang, ano yun, halatang symmetrical, di ba? Halatang symmetrical. So yan, 0.43%. So in the middle, that's another 33%. Then here's another 33.33%. Diba? So that is how the distribution works if it's divided into 3. Now, if I were to do the linear interpolation, of course, I need to subtract that by 33.3%. So 0.5 minus the 33.3%, and this should give me this answer. So I have to search for it in both ways. Diba? And then this one is the center stage. So therefore, 0.5 minus 0.33, this becomes 1,667. So therefore, the correct answer is 60.67%. Now, if I were to locate this on my Z table, where is the 1.167? Yan, tama. Malaman na siya sa 0.03, 0.143, and 0.144. So if I were to do the linear interpolation method, just to show you a tip guys ganito kasi yun. Diba remember this is 0.43, 0.44. Diba remember here we got 0.43072. Then, on the right hand side, this is supposed to be 0.17. Here is 0.16, what's the number? 64, diba? Here is the 0.1667. Diba? Now, if I were to do the linear interpolation method, of course, diba remember big X minus little x, that's supposed to be 0.006, diba? Kasi diba remember, that is the one here. Diba? So if I were to subtract it here, 0, 0, 10 minus 4, 6, 9 minus... Ah, 36 pala yan. 36. So therefore, this is 10 minus 4, this is 9 minus 6, 36, diba? Then this becomes 6. So tama, 0.036. And then this becomes 0.01. Then on the right-hand side, tama nga, that's supposed to be 0.003 on the right side. Then divide by x minus 0.43, diba? Then we divide by both sides. So therefore, diba remember, we shift the decimal point one place to the right. And therefore, it will become like this. 1, 2, 1, 2. So that becomes 0.36 na lang. Then on the right-hand side, we have 0.003, then x minus 0.43, di ba? So that should be the solution. It should go something like this. Then, we have 0.36 here, minus, and then, di ba, remember, 0.36 times 0.43. 18, this becomes 10. 4 times 6 is 24. 144. So, 4, tama, 1.548. Then, we count the decimal point. Therefore, di ba? So, 1.548. And that becomes 0.003. Now, we add both sides by this number. So, 1.1548, di ba? That gives us 11,551. Then, divide both sides by 0.36, di ba? So, therefore, that should be the answer. Now, let's double check with Microsoft Excel to see if we get the same answer as much as we did here. So, ganito kasi yun. Di ba, remember here we have 0.43, di ba? 0.44. No. Big Y minus little y. The big Y is 0.17 minus 0.1664. Diba? Tama, we get this answer, 0.0036. Here, 0.43, 44 pala minus 0.43. Then we divide the two numbers together. Yan, diba? Then on the right-hand side, we have 0.17 minus 0.1667. Yan. Then here we have x minus 0.43. Then here, ang ginawa ko dito, we multiply it by both sides. So therefore, it's times 0.43, di ba? Yan. And then this guy plus this guy. So that you can get this answer. Ah, wait. Kasi po dapat, that's not supposed to be the right answer. Teka lang, what did I do here? Ah, yes. That is 0.17 minus 0.1667. Diba? Kaya we expect a larger number. So that's why after that, we divide. So that is the wrong answer. Then we get this answer. Tama, that's the right answer. 0.43 something. Pero here, in my Microsoft Excel, that's 0.30. But here, we got an even more larger number. And I think I kind of know why. Ah, gets ko na. That was the wrong number. 0.167 pala minus 0.1664. Kasi that's the little y, di ba? So yan, that should be the answer. Yun nga, that was the right answer. Tama. That was the right answer. 0.1551, 0.43083. Ah, yeah. So tama. That's the same z-score as what we got. So therefore, that is the z-score. Diba? That is the z-score that we got. 0.4307279. Diba? And that's how we got the z-scores. Diba? So now we already know where that is. It's right over here. Diba? Yan. And then right after that, we are going to convert that to the raw score. So to convert that to a raw score, mabilis lang to. Diba? Remember, all you have to do is to just multiply it by the standard deviation, then add it to your mean. So ganito kasi yun. Here, for the negative 0.43 percentile, therefore the score is 556, which is right over here. Ito yung 556 points. Then here, 563 points. In between the two numbers, diba? Yan, diba? And then we check. So that we can check if we still get the same answer. So we standardize this number. We standardize, and then you remember that is the raw score, then the mean, and then the standard deviation. And then if we get the right answer, that is correct. Yes, that is the correct z-score. And then the checkpoint is right here. So therefore, what is our conclusion? The first raw score is, if you belong to the 33rd percentile, 33 or 32 percentile, your score is 556.55 points. If you score at the second area, that is, which is the 66.7 percentile, that is 563 points. Yun. So that's it. Okay? Next, letter E. Suppose now we have 160 people challenge me in this game. If I see a score with negative 126, how many points is that? I think maybe I'll just separate that for another video. So, bye for now, guys.